Hello YouTube, this is Christy coming at you again. Wanted to talk on a specific subject today. I got out of the military on Friday, August the 8th, 2014, and in my quest, going forward from there, I've been doing a lot of research on people who've gotten out and who has, transitioned in a very, good way. Haven't really found too much out there. I did want to create a blog, sort of speak. So here it is. Today is the 13th, I believe, of August 2014. I got out again on the 8th. A little historical background. I came into the military December the 9th, 2003. It's been one wild ride. Had some highs and have had quite a few lows or whatnot. Between my own personal issues and me losing friends and things of that nature, and just personal things that were going on back home, not necessarily with the military or being involved in the military life. A lot has happened over the 10 plus years that I've been in the military. So fast forward, last Friday was my last day in the military. Now, I got separated because in the military you have to meet certain weight standards, and unfortunately for me, I didn't meet those standards. It's been a struggling issue for me since I joined, and it was something that I was able to keep within standards. But for some reason or another, within the past year and a half, I would say, my body pretty much gave up, said, hey, look, I've had enough, the fat diets. I tried the B12 shots and the appetite suppressants. Actually, that was my, number one successful way for maintaining weight while in the military, because I actually was doing that since 2006. Um, Take that back, 2007 maybe. I believe it was after I had my daughter. But nonetheless, yeah. So for the most part, I used that to help tailor my weight or whatnot, so that I could get my body and its composition in the standards of the Navy. Well, like I said before, the past year and a half, I've been going through a lot of changes, getting a little bit older, you know, um, and nothing I was doing was working anymore. Still at this point, I'm still in the quest to find out more about myself, because I find it odd for me not knowing enough about my own body to where I can set a goal as far as maintaining a decent weight and being able to lose or being able to maintain. So for me, that's a problem, because I'm not even in tune with my own body at this point to know the do's and the don'ts of a body that I live within. And that's, so, but nonetheless, a year and a half ago, I started noticing these changes. And, at that point, I was still continuing my normal regime of, dieting, exercising. I was exercising at least 5 to 6 times out of the week. And I'm not talking about 30-minute walks. We're talking about running for miles and miles and miles. Running and incorporating circuit exercises, things of that nature. And I noticed little to no results, maybe at most 5 or 6 pounds. But if I stopped exercising for a week, definitely after a week, those pounds came back. So I wasn't getting ahead. And I was spending money on top of that to go to a weight loss doctor to help me lose weight so that I could stay in. And it was an array of different health issues that came up. And it made me question, like, what am I doing to myself? So, of course, naturally, most people, if they notice some changes and they're on a certain medication or they're on a certain regime, they're going to stop, what they're doing to kind of reset. It's like a reset button. And I kind of did that, and still didn't notice a change. And again, I was struggling between those five and, just losing 5 or 10 pounds at most, and I think at this point, the past year and a half, it's been maybe between 5 and 7 or 8 pounds, and no more than that. And again, if I were to stop working out, or I didn't do, let's say I only worked out 2 or 3 times out of the week, at least 5 of those pounds would come back. But nonetheless, I was kicked out, because I had failed the body fat standard in the fall cycle of 2013. And in the Navy, at least, you weigh in and you do your physical readiness test every 6 months, so twice a year. So I failed that one in the fall cycle of 2013, and I ended up failing the spring cycle of 2014. And then I had one that was pending, or one that was on my record from 2010. So it stays on your record for 4 years. And if you get 3 of those within a 4-year period, hey, that's your pink slip. But nonetheless, that's not the point that I'm on. The point that I'm on is that I'm discharged, I'm separated. I've spent a little bit over a decade in the military. I know for a lot of you out there who may be in the military, maybe on your way out, maybe have already gotten out, you've traveled down this same path. And for me, it's quite new. You have a lot of people that have a lot of different emotions when they get out. You have some people that are very happy, you have some people that are very sad, some people that are angry, and just some people that are like, whatever. For me, I fit in the happy slash whatever category. It's something for me that I started realizing about 2 years ago. Really, like, I had always questioned myself, and I had always had this echoing voice in the background saying, hey, is this something you want to re-sign up for again? Do you want to sign another contract? Because you're ultimately not happy with what you're doing. You're not happy with the restrictions that you have imposed upon yourself. You're not happy with the working environments and how that affects your personal life and your family life. So this voice from the first contract that I signed, after those 5 years were up, I re-signed again. And, around that time frame, that voice was talking in the background like, hey, Christy, are you going to sign up again? Like, you really don't care too much for this, although it provides opportunity, but you really don't care too much for this. But I did, and I did it for my own specific reasons. And then that contract ended, and then it was again like, and the voice was even louder in the background like, hey, like, you're not really going to do this again. And I did, and here I am. But again, going back to my main point is that when you get out, we all have different emotions, but how do you adjust to those emotions? And on this journey, even though mine is just starting, I'm realizing that there are more people that are involved with the whole transition. With me, I had my own personal situation with family and whatnot, and they relied upon me in a lot of different ways. And obviously me getting kicked out of the Navy, it affected them and their livelihood and their expectations and their standards of living as well. So but just me sitting here in my new apartment, I did my last move and I did downgrade again. I'm in a 1-bedroom now, very nice, in Orlando. But it's just like, okay, so where do I go from here? For me, I'm always trying to be 10 steps ahead, always. So when I first found out that I was getting out, which was in May of this year, the first thing I did was, okay, well, what do I want to do? When I get out, do I want to go back to the workforce and work for somebody else, work for another beast or another machine, and work myself to death? Because while I was in the military, I worked myself so hard that I incurred a lot of injuries or whatnot, and these are lifelong injuries that I will always have and I will always have to deal with. And that was due to me working above and beyond. And the more time had went on, it's like, well, damn, I'm working myself this hard, and that's because I am a great worker. Anything that I do, I take pride in. So it it was a question for me, like, do I want to go into another, another machine, as I call it, or work for another company, organization, or whatnot, and work myself even further and only earn pennies on the dollar? And that was the process I was going through in my head, and automatically I already knew the answer to that question, because this is something I had already been thinking about for years. And even this year, the beginning of this year, I prayed to God, and I was like asking him for his guidance and for a sign and whatnot, and here's the sign loud and clear. So um, immediately I knew I wanted to go to school, and I knew what I wanted to go to school for, because my passion has not been something I have, pursued, you know, since I've been in the military. I worked in the medical field while serving in the Navy. I was a hospital corpsman, um, but that was never my number one passion. I love the medical field. I love, helping people. I love the connection you get with people when you're in that capacity. I loved everything about it, but it was not my number one passion. My number one passion was always, for me, cooking. I enjoyed it before I came in the military. I enjoyed it while I was in the military. Obviously I wasn't cooking in a perspective where I was serving people and I was doing it just for the, for the profit. I was cooking more so at home, for smaller, a smaller amount. Um, but I knew that was something that I loved. I enjoy it. I still love it. And to me, it's an art form, because you take foods with different tastes, and those tastes have different chemical backgrounds, and you mix them together, and you can create this whole new taste, and maybe even a fusion of tastes. And and food just does something for the body and the soul and the mind. It does something for people. That's why people pay for other people to cook for them, because it's enjoyable. And I get a thrill out of providing that service for somebody where they can enjoy it, and at the same time I get praised for the work that I've done. So automatically I knew I was going to go into cooking field. So I chose to go to school, down here in Orlando at LaCour Blue. I actually start on Monday, which is the 18th of August. Really excited about it. Very excited about it. Actually, my deceased best friend, before I even came into the military, that was something we always talked about. We had always talked about our dreams and our ambitions, even through our own struggle. And that was something I remember him bringing the school up to me. I didn't even know about the school, and my friend Antonio, he was like, yeah, I want to go to LaCour Blue. It's like a great school for cooking, and he elaborated off on it. And at that time I knew I liked cooking, but I really didn't have as great of a passion for it at that point. But as the years went on, it was something that I finally, stumbled upon. Not even stumbled upon, but, just kind of came to grips with, like, hey, this is something I really enjoy. Like, I really enjoy it. I get a lot of thinking in when I'm cooking, when I'm chopping up or prepping my meals or whatnot, chopping up vegetables or whatever, I get a lot of good thinking in. It helps me to think and clear my mind, and I'm very relaxed, and, I can go on and on and on about it. But I knew I was going to go into cooking. So nonetheless, I went ahead and signed up for school. This was, and actually I started inquiring about school. They told me like middle of May. So the ending of May, I had already put in an inquiry about the school, talked to the advisors and stuff like that. They gave me a detailed, introduction or whatnot. I had a chance, an opportunity to ask all of my questions. And as time went on, June came, and I'm like, okay, well, I know I'm getting out. I know I want to go to school, and I know I want to go to school for this. But at that point, it was like it had hit that I was getting out, and I was looking forward to it, and I was excited about it. But I really wasn't getting everything into gear, because at that point, my date still was not concrete. I still was not getting a concrete date from my PSs. See, I'm down here in Florida. I was at Tampa, NOSC Tampa, which is a reserve center. So I'm active duty. I've been active duty my whole career. Not FTS, I'm active duty. And, this was a change altogether when I took these orders to come down here, because I had never worked with reservists before. I had never predominantly worked with FTS members before. So it was new all the way around, me going from an operational background to a weekend warrior support type background was very different. But, I appreciate every experience I have in life. So I took it for what it was. But nonetheless, me telling you that is, we don't have a PSD down here. The reserve center down in Tampa is actually on a Air Force base. So I'm Navy. We don't have a PSD down here. So nonetheless, there was a lot of mixed signals that were being giving. I was being told one thing by my NC, which I trusted her, and I still did trust her to the end. I believe everything she told me. And then you had the PSs that were telling me another. Now, being that they don't commonly work with active duty, I'm sure somehow, some way, it kind of got mixed. But nonetheless, I didn't get a concrete date, so everything was kind of still out there, and in La La Land or whatnot. I'm anticipating a certain date in my head, but at that time I still didn't have a date. And as time was nearing, June came to an end. And for the most part, for June, I had went ahead and took that off. I had already planned that off. God is good, because I had already put in for leave for June, like way back in the beginning of the year, because I knew my daughter was leaving to go, transfer custodialship to her father this summer. So, June was the time frame that I had planned. Hey, we're going to take a vacation together. I'm going to spend, some time with my daughter before she leaves and goes up with her dad, yada, yada, yada. So June came and went pretty fast. July came, and, I'm back at work now, and I'm expecting, hey, look, when I come back from leave, which I came back July, like after July the 4th, really. And, I was like, okay, well, it could be 2 weeks from now. It could be 3 weeks. At this point, I still didn't have a concrete date, but I had kicked it into high gear. I had no excuse at this point. My daughter was no longer here, so it wasn't like I could say, oh, well, I was preoccupied with her, or me taking care of her, or doing A, B, and C for her, and whatever. No excuse. So I kicked everything into high gear. From me, looking at my VA benefits, from educational benefits. I look back at my contract, because I still had my original contract. When I first signed on in 2003, I got a $40,000 Navy college fund. So I had to do research on that. My disability, I got background on that for the VA and the steps that I needed to take. I actually didn't finish my disability up, and I actually filed my disability claim like a day before I got out. But it was done before I got out, so I'm glad about that. But, just everything, like in July, I was hitting hard. And at that point, it was like I was ready. It was like, okay, I was exhaling. It was like, I'm ready. Let me go ahead and set everything up, everything possible that I can do right now to set myself up in the best position that I have control over right now. Let me do it. So from disability claims, making sure I went ahead and got my separation physical done. I had my separation dental exam done. That was done in June before I even went on leave, because again, I'm a corpsman, so I already knew what I needed to get done to get out. Then come to find out, Congress passed something, I believe in like September 2013, where now people that are getting out, they have a mandatory classes and all this stuff that they have to do, a transition plan, capstone, all these different things that you have to do. So it was like, okay, I was kind of iffy, like, okay, well, are they really going to hold my DD-214 over this? Or, do I really have to do this? Because anyone who's been in the military for a while know that a lot of things, or most, I won't say a lot of things, but a good amount of things that they tell you that you have to get done, you really don't have to get done. And if in my mind, I was like, since I'm getting out anyway, and they're kicking me out, do I really have to do this? So, but for me, it was like, okay, do I either want to not do this and let them kick me out, and me have my DD-214 and everything else held up or delayed because I didn't complete this, or do I want to go ahead and do this and just not even be worried about it? So I decided to go ahead and complete everything and do it the best way I could at that time. And I did. And I actually did not get my official date until about a week and a half before I got out. Like I had already expected, like obviously this is the time frame I'm going to be getting out. But the official date, I didn't get that until about a week and a half before I got out. But for me, I had already, again, I already try to keep myself several steps ahead, you know? So I was prepping for this, and due to me getting out because I failed weight standards, I knew I was getting an involuntary separation pay. Granted, it's not the whole involuntary separation pay, but it will be enough to sustain me. So I took that into account, and of course that made me feel a lot better. And I advise anybody who's obviously not getting any kind of involuntary separation pay or any kind of bonuses for getting out, plan ahead. You know, obviously income is going to be the main thing that you want to be concerned about, because that's how you're going to be able to sustain your livelihood. You know, as soon as you find out, you need to go ahead and do a budget. You know, that's one of the things for the pre-separation that's required. You have to do a 12-month budget. But I had already did a informal budget before I even, you know, came upon that. For me, it was like, okay, well, how am I living right now? And what is it going to take for me to sustain my living once I get out? And it doesn't have to be a lavish lifestyle. I don't have to live in the 1 percentile apartment complex or whatnot, because I don't own a home at this point. But it's like, okay, I don't want to do, I had a standard for myself. I'm not living in no hood. First of all, I ain't never lived in no hood. I don't plan on doing so when I get out. So that was number one. So, but back to income, obviously that's how you're going to be able to sustain yourself. Okay, so what skills do you have, you know, based off of your job in the military, or even before the military, because not everybody comes into the military straight out of high school. So it was for me, like, what skills do I have? Okay, I work in a hospital, you know, in the medical field. I have a lot of different trade skills where I can get a job instantly. Not only that, I had collateral duty skills, you know, I had manager skills, I had event coordinator skills. It's very important for each and every one of you to take everything that you've done in the military and break it down, because everything is condensed in the military. You know, really, truthfully and honestly, a lot of military people, especially the higher ranking you are, the more jobs and responsibility you have. But when you translate that to the civilian sector, there are people who, there's one person who does that one specific thing that you were responsible for doing. So in the military, in essence, you may have 20 different hats. But in the civilian sector, a person who holds one of those positions or one of those responsibilities may only have that one hat. So you want to break each and every responsibility that you had down and translate that as a position for you. Because again, for example, although I was in the medical field, I'm Navy. I was also on the ship. I have firefighting skills. Okay. I know I was team leader. You know, I knew how to, I was trained on how to investigate a fire. I was trained in, as far as being the hose leader or whatnot, and entering a fire, how to put out fire, what specific methods to put out different fires. You know what I'm saying? Also, I was anti-terrorism force protection. So I was trained in different machine guns. You know what I'm saying? I was trained in security. So there's different, even though my main job was medical, I was trained in all these different subcategories, which in the civilian sector would translate into a specific job. So you have to know how your career field and the different things that you were trained to do, all your training, all your education, all of the on-the-job training, you know, apprenticeship or whatnot. You need to know how to translate that into the civilian sector, because again, you can break all of the stuff down that you did, and that can translate to a job for you on the outside. And again, income is going to be the main thing you want to be concerned about, because that's how you're going to be able to sustain yourself. So that was number one. Number two for me was the backup plan to the backup plan to the backup plan. So yes, I know, hey, I'm getting involuntary separation pay for X amount of dollars. That's going to be able to sustain me for however long. And then on top of that, I had a backup plan. Okay, I'm going to go to school, and I'm using the post 9/11 GI Bill. So the post 9/11 GI Bill is going to give me a stipend or a housing allowance each and every month for X amount of dollars. Okay, so that's going to bring some income into the house. Not only that, I'm going to apply for unemployment benefits. So on top of everything else, I want to make sure I have that unemployment benefit at least filed for it, because some people say, oh, well, you're not entitled to it. Well, what's the worst that can happen if you apply for it? They can either tell you yes or no. So I'm still applying for it. The claim is in. So if I'm eligible, in fact, for that, that's going to be extra money that comes in. And for me, I don't want to have to work for anybody else, because I'm going the route of owning my own business and becoming an entrepreneur, you know. So if by the grace of God, knock on wood, I don't have to work for nobody else, just for myself. So, you know, but if it came down to it, again, I can take that list of, you know, different responsibilities and jobs and training and stuff that I had in the military, and I can go find me a job. And it's going to make me very competitive against the other people that are applying for those jobs, because for me, I've been in for a while. And on top of that, not only do I have the technical knowledge and experience and the training, but I have other traits that go along with that. Not only do I know how to fight a fire, but I'm also a good manager. I've also done administrative things that managers or supervisors are responsible for doing, whether it's, you know, planning a shift load, you know, or coordinating, you know, the days off that your people that's under you put in for, you know, or making sure you hold them accountable and whatnot. So I have those different skills, so that's going to make me more competitive than the next person. And all of this I already had in my mind, you know. I'm already thinking about this. I've already laid it down on the paper. I didn't need the transition plan for me, because I was already on it. I was 10 steps ahead. So, but today, you know, I happened to call DFAS, which DFAS is the place that disperses the money that the military members get every payday. And of course, they're responsible for the money that anybody who was associated with the military, receiving money from Department of Defense. That's where you call to check up on your money, or, you know, if you have bills or garnishment of wages or whatnot, you call them. So I called them today, and I was like, hey, look, you know, I got out on this date or whatnot, and this is what's promised to me, you know, based off of my DD 214. I wanted to see, hey, is there a specific date that I should, you know, be expecting this money to arrive? And they were like, well, we don't have a specific date in here. I would suggest you contact your PSD. Again, I was on the MacDill Air Force Base. We don't have a PSD for Navy down there. PSD, they handled us, was in Jacksonville. So it dawned on me, like, hey, what happens? And I asked myself this today. I was like, so are you prepared if you don't get this money in the next 20 days? You know, rent's going to be due. Electric's going to be due. You got to put food in your stomach. What are you going to do? And I had to ask myself these questions. And although I have backup plans, when you have backup plans, they're great, but you got to know which one to initialize first. If not initialize all of them at the same time. So for me, I had to ask myself this today. Like, hey, look, I may not get this money in the expected time, because I was told 10 days after I got out that I could expect this money to be dispersed to my account. But what happens if this money does not get dispersed to my account? What's next then? Because bills don't stop. Bills don't care what circumstance you're going through in life. They don't care. At the end of the day, these companies, they want their money. So I had to question myself, what am I going to do? I'm calling DFAS. They don't even have a date. And you know how the government is, especially if you've been in the military. They're quick to take, but slow to give. So I started thinking of different resources. And this is what I had always told people while I was in, you know, that I mentored. It's very important that you know your resources. You know, if all else fails, know your resources. So where are the different places I could get support from and help? Well, I got the VA. I got the Military One Source. I have different state organizations or affiliations or whatnot that can help me. I have those. So automatically, I went into this mode of, okay, well, if my backup plans fail, this is where I'm going to be going next. And even with that, you know, I have orientation for my school this Friday. Today, again, is Wednesday. school starts on Monday, but we all know with the VA and receiving this money from the GI Bill, some people they've received it on time. Some people it took them a month to receive it. Some people it took them 2-3 months to receive their money. Again, meanwhile, the bills don't stop. So in the back of my mind, it's like, okay, well, I am marketable. I did have a collateral duty on top of everything else that I just explained, and I have more. Obviously, I'm not going into detail about my whole career, my whole trainings and whatnot, but one of my collateral duties was a victim advocate for sexual assault. So I think it's very important that each and every person knows their worth, and not just while in the military, but know your worth for yourself as if though you were not in the military. Because as I told people that I was over, the military is not permanent. And even if you make it a 20-year, career or whatnot, 30-year career, it is not permanent. At some point, you will have to get out. At some point, that will end. You will no longer have anybody taking care of you. And even if you retire and you get that little paycheck, who's to say that's going to sustain you, in your livelihood and your spouse, at that point, 30 years, most people will be married and have a kid or two or more than that. So it's who's to say that the retirement pay is going to sustain you? A lot of people who retire have to get another job, another career after they get out. So it's important that you think about these things, even if you plan on retiring. But more so important for people who plan on separating or maybe have already separated. You need to do a lot of research on all of your resources, because your resources, if everything else fails, are going to help you to bounce back and to get to where you need to be at. And what I would tell most people is that I have not been afraid. From day one, when they first told me, I had a lot of people coming to me like, you're not sad, you're not worried, you're not angry. Have you cried? I'm like, why would I cry? I'm going to do the same thing that I did before I got in. For me, I worked before I got in. I had my own before I got in. I didn't come straight out of mommy and daddy house. But at the same time, nonetheless, for people who came straight from their mom's house or their dad's house or their parents' house, or from a background where they were completely exclusively taken care of, don't worry. Because you're going to do, when somebody asks you, well, what are you going to do when you get out? Oh my God. Your reply should be to them is the same thing that 99% of American population are doing. They're surviving, they're working and taking care of bills. And you can do it too. Don't ever let anybody brainwash you into believing that you can't. You can, and it's easy as pie. The same way you've maintained in the military is the same way you will maintain in the civilian sector. The only difference is that you will not have anybody spoon feeding you. But that's part of becoming an adult. So if you're an adult, you should already be able to do certain things for yourself without anybody having to follow up or spoon feed you. And if you are the certain percentage that are used to that and never came out of that, it's okay too, because you will get the hang of it. You have no choice at this point. But nonetheless, look at every other American, 99% for the most part, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the statistics are, the statistics are that 1% of Americans make the ultimate, well, I won't say ultimate sacrifice, but they make that sacrifice of joining the military. So that leaves 99%. So why would you be concerned about what you're going to do and how you're going to survive or how you're going to live when 99% of Americans are doing it every day? Don't become brainwashed by what the military wants you to believe, because it's not always the way they perceive it or they put it to you to perceive. You'll be fine. You'll make it. You may struggle. In life, in general, everybody goes through a struggle. At some point, some season in everybody's life, they will go through some kind of struggle. But you must go into the struggle or just go into life knowing this. You're already 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 10 steps ahead of most people. You're already ahead. You already have that training. You already have a certain mentality. And all you have to do is take that and apply it. And don't let the anxiety or the fear overcome you. You overcome it and you do what you have to do. Because ultimately it's your life, and it's going to be based off of how you apply yourself to society and everything that society has to offer for you to survive. So, but I thought I would do a blog on this. Wow, I didn't realize it's been like 30 minutes or whatnot. But nonetheless, I'm going to try to continue to do blogs because I do realize there is a certain crowd out there that needs more people like myself, or maybe even like yourself, or maybe people that are coming up to this, crossroad or whatnot, or this transition in their life. They need guidance, they need words of advice, or maybe they just need to see a success story, or a story of hope, or a story of somebody who doesn't get out there and fail. Maybe they need to hear or see somebody who is able to do these things. And even when a person does get out the military and they may struggle a little bit, they need to know that, hey, that person still made it through regardless of their struggle. And I'm here to tell you that I'm confident in knowing in myself and my capability. Yes, granted, I've only been out for a week, but at the same time, one thing I know for certain about me: failure is not an option. I may start sinking a little bit, but one thing about most Navy people, and I would say most, because you have some people that don't know how to swim, we know how to swim. So if I start sinking, I'm going to eventually start swimming back to the top, and I will survive, and I will continue pushing forward to get to where I'm trying to get to. So I hope you take this advice, and I hope you use it in a positive manner. And if anything, you share your story as well. Definitely ask any questions. I may be out of the Navy or whatnot. I may be out of the service, but I still have a lot of knowledge. I'm still full of knowledge. And helping people is what I've done my whole career. So if you have any questions, definitely leave it below. Any comments, leave that below as well. But yeah, I wish you all the best of luck. I wish you all well. And I will tell you this straight up: don't worry about anything. Plan properly. Proper planning leads to a good or perfect execution. Remember that. If you don't plan accordingly, then your execution may be poorly. So you always want to make sure you plan properly. Anyway, I'm done. I wish you all well. Like I said, leave me a comment or leave me any questions or concerns that you have, and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. All right, peace be with you. Bye.